Hello my quilting friends! Leah Day here with a new video for the Machine Quilting Party. A few weeks ago we learned how to quilt pinstripes. Now we're going to take that design and make it Ziggie. So let's learn how to quilt pinstripe Ziggie together. So I'm getting started with my zigzag pinstripes and I'm stitching my further distance, my further spaced lines. So I have a guide set up here on my walking foot and that's giving me 1 inch of distance between the guide and my needle. And now I'm just visually estimating the space where I think it's going to be about the right point to change direction. And I could maybe take one more stitch and that would probably be a better fit, but you know what? I think that's close enough. We don't have to be just exactly perfectly right. We're using a guide that's close enough and that's going to be good enough. So I'm going to be stitching this zigzag line and spacing it out 1 inch apart and then spacing out 1/4 inch apart. Now 1/4 inch apart, this closer spacing is a little trickier, so I have a lot of tips to help you space those lines together. As I'm quilting these further apart lines, you know, basically I'm just kind of looking at the needle and looking at the line that I'm quilting and echoing and just kind of eyeballing it more than anything else, and that's letting me know where to change direction. And I gotta say, this is one of those things that just takes practice, and the more you do it, the better you're gonna get. Like here, I kind of undershot. I think I was kind of distracted by this pin here on the back of the quilt. That's blocking up my foot a little bit. So I undershot. So if I started quilting here, my guide is about, it's running right through the middle of those lines. So it would be obviously a little close and you'd be able to see that. So I'm going to take 1 or 2 stitches further down and then line back up again, and that looks much better. So now I'll line up the guide and stitch inside. And I gotta say, stitching and changing direction on these inside curves, for me, that feels a little bit easier. I don't know. You try it and see what's easier for you. If you have trouble with this and changing direction like this is difficult and you're having trouble quilting it consistently on your quilts, then just mark it. So now I have stitched backwards 1/4 inch, and then this Minky is being fluffy, so I'm going to use my lint roller to clean it up a little bit so that way you can see what I'm doing. And what I want to do now is space out 1/4 inch away. Well, I have a handy little groove here on my walking foot, and that gives me the 1/4 inch spacing. So I'm going to line that groove up, and I'm looking at that groove more than I'm looking at my needle. Changing direction, however, that's going to be a little tricky. Sometimes the direction changes don't always line up all that well with that groove. And sometimes you have to just kind of play with it and eyeball it, and you know, even marking it. You know, I can say, just guesstimating my space, somewhere about right there would be my direction change for that angle. So having a little dot marked on your quilt might be helpful, and that might help speed things up so you don't have to, you know, sit there and stitch down and then rotate and find that it's off and then rotate back and, you know, try and back up a stitch. I mean, I was off just ever so slightly here. And it's better, honestly, I would say, to undershoot and have to take 1 extra stitch than it is to overshoot, because some machines really don't like backing up 1 stitch. And how I do that is I just rotate the hand wheel backwards away from myself, and that picks up the needle and does not complete the stitch. And like I said, sometimes even my machine gags and creates a bird's nest because it doesn't like to do that all that much. So watch out for that. Backing up a stitch is not always a sure thing. But you can see, you can get into a rhythm with it. You know, it's just space estimation, kind of keeping an eye on the distance between those lines of quilting. One thing I've noticed, and it might just be simply like the mood I'm in today, but my stitches are a little bit long and a little bit inconsistent. And I think I'm kind of pushing, I'm being a little too heavy-handed with the quilt. So I'm going to try lowering my stitch length, and I'm also going to try and take a lighter hand with this, and remember that all I have to do is just steer lightly. I don't have to actually be shoving the quilt through the machine. You know, this is a smallish square, and really I can take a light hand with it and just allow the machine and the walking foot to do their job. and feed it through and create the nice, even, consistent stitches. So you can already see back here, if you look behind the foot at those stitches, they're already smaller and more consistent. So yeah, I think I was just being a little too heavy-handed and aggressive. You know, you just gotta let the walking foot walk, gotta let it do its thing, and not try and shove the quilt through the machine. That's free motion quilting. That's a totally different style of quilting. Here we just have to let the feed dogs on the machine and let the feed dogs on the walking foot do their job. So I'm just going to continue stitching these lines, nice ziggies, and I love this pinstripe effect. The closer and further spacing, I think, really is a dramatic effect for your quilts. And here's what it looks like whenever I finish stitching it. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned a lot quilting this design with me today, and you're ready to jump on your machine and give it a try. Now, if you'd like to learn more about walking foot style quilting, please check out my book, Explore Walking Foot Quilting with Leah Day. In this book, I share 30 walking foot style designs as well as 7 fun quilt projects that will really build your skills for quilting on your home sewing machine. So come and check out the book at leahday.com/walkingfoot. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube so you don't miss the next video coming out soon. Until next time, let's go quilt!